You don't speak of the past for 3 days. Not of the curse, not of Elspeth, not of dying under a blood moon or waking with strange winds in your chest. Instead, you speak of simpler things. Whether oat bread tastes better when left overnight in ash, how many spoons is too many for 2 people, and whether Benedict the pantry mouse deserves his own plate. You plant chamomile by the windowsill. Elias finds an old lute beneath the floorboards and strums it terribly until you laugh so hard you drop the bowl you were holding. He picks up the pieces and says, "See? Still making your heart crack." You threaten to marry the mouse instead. He bows deeply. "You wound me, madam." It's strange, this joy, this quiet. You never had it in your first life, or your second. It's like being allowed to breathe inside a moment and not rush toward the next cliff edge. But peace, like bread, never lasts long in this town. It starts with the chickens. Old Nan claims one of her hens began clucking words in her sleep. Not chicken words, human ones. The villagers gather outside her coop, whispering about curses, omens, and the ill-fated lovers who brought magic back. She said, "They've returned," Nan swears, clear as bell metal. Then someone's well overflows with salt water. Another sees the face of his dead father in his shaving mirror. By the end of the week, the town smells like fear. You're brushing Elias's hair on the porch when Cordelia arrives. She wears traveling boots and a cloak stitched with fox fur. Her silver rings glint under the rising moon. "You two have broken something," she says, settling into the seat beside you. "Or fixed something that others preferred broken." You glance at Elias. "We didn't mean to." "I know. But magic doesn't care what you mean, only what you change." Cordelia explains the curse that Elspeth wove around your deaths wasn't just about keeping you apart. It was a net, when tangled in the very fabric of the village's balance. Undoing it without unweaving of threads was optimistic. Elias chuckles. "That's us, eternally optimistic idiots." You sip tea and try to think. Cordelia watches you closely. There's an old rite, rare, not often spoken of. It's called a bonding reclaim. What does it do, you ask? It roots your union in this life, in this village, in its land. And by doing so, it calms the wild currents you've stirred. It won't fix everything, but it may ease the edges. "Why haven't you mentioned this before?" Elias asks. She shrugs. "You weren't ready. And now, the land is waking. It needs you to decide." You rest your head against the wooden beam. "What does the rite involve?" Cordelia smiles softly. "A vow made before earth, wind, and fire, and a gift returned to the one who cursed you." "Elspeth?" Elias scowls. "We're to thank her?" Cordelia's expression is unreadable. You're to offer her what she never offered you. Mercy. You hate that it makes sense. The rite must be done on the next new moon in the clearing where the yew tree grows. You have until then, but be warned. Elspeth is still watching. She's not done with you yet. The days that follow blur. The town's unrest grows. The wind howls even when the sky is clear. People say milk curdles at sunrise, that children dream of old gods with golden eyes. You and Elias begin preparing the rite. He carves small tokens of thanks, wooden coins with symbols from your first life, the crooked star, the knotted heart, the peach branch. You bake honey cakes with ash-laced flour, an old tradition said to bind sweetness and sorrow. One custom says a couple about to bind their souls again must spend one night in silence apart. No words, no touches. a superstition born from fear that too much love, spoken too loud, would draw the jealous ears of gods. So you part. You sleep beneath the peach tree where you first died, though the leaves now glow soft and gold. You dream of him only once, standing in your kitchen, laughing with a ghost. You wake with tears dried on your cheek and your palm pressed over your own heartbeat. The night of the rite arrives. The village watches from the edge of the trees. No one dares join, but none leave either. Even Elspeth, wrapped in her moss-colored cloak, stands just beyond the ring of mushrooms. Cordelia draws a circle with salt and crushed lavender. You and Elias step inside. You face each other. The fire flickers between you. Your heart hammers like it remembers this place from lifetimes ago. The air feels thicker, older, like the breath of something ancient waiting just beneath the veil. Elias speaks first. I loved you before I remembered your name, and I will love you even if I forget it again. You smile through the mist in your eyes. I waited for you through lifetimes, through death, through silence, through the crack of every lost dawn. And I'd wait again. I'd wait 100 years more if you were at the end of them. Cordelia nods. You each drop a token into the fire. Yours the wooden heart, his the branch. Smoke rises, golden and slow. Then you turn toward Elspeth. Your hands tremble. You walk to her holding out the final gift, a single honey cake, cradled in a white cloth tied with a strand of your own hair, the traditional offering of peace. She eyes it warily. Why? After everything? You swallow. Because we chose love, even when it hurt. She stares at you for a long time. Then slowly, she takes it. And the wind shifts. The circle glows. The trees groan softly as if exhaling a secret. And far above, the stars blink, watchful, quiet, and perhaps finally content. The next morning, you wake with soil in your hair and damp on your spine. You hadn't meant to sleep in the garden, but the earth had wrapped itself around you like a cradle. And for once, your dreams had been quiet. No bell towers, no screams, no violet eyes swallowed by grief. Just Elias's laughter, echoing like chimes through the orchard. You carry that sound with you all the way back to the cottage. Elspeth is waiting on the porch. A silver basin of water rests at her feet, steam curling up like spirits. She doesn't speak, just watches you approach, eyes unreadable. Did you remember something? She finally asks. Enough, you say. She dips a cloth in the basin and hands it to you. You take it, surprised by the gesture. It's the first time she's offered you anything without expectation. You're not going to stop me, are you? Elspeth sighs. Darling, if I'd wanted to stop you, you wouldn't be standing. Fair point. She hesitates. There are things I never told you about what happened the night Elias died. You pause, cloth still in hand. He didn't fall, she says. The wind stirs. Your heart drops. You pushed him? She scoffs. He jumped. What? Elspeth stares at the trees. He said something ridiculous. That he'd rather die than be kept from you again. That the stars had already decided it wasn't your time. Your breath catches. He thought he could come back. Or that you would. You collapse onto the step. Elspeth doesn't comfort you. She just watches. "In our village," she says softly, "they used to say if you carved your love into yew bark and kissed beneath it before the snow, your souls would be bound beyond time. That's just a tale. Maybe. But I checked the yew tree after he died. And she finally looks at you. It had your names." You don't respond. There's no joke here. No quip soft enough to dull the edge. Just silence. Later, you slip back into town. The market is bustling again. Spring festivals near, and stalls overflow with wax-dipped flowers, candied violets, and little woven charms made of hair and thread to keep away unwanted spirits or draw the right ones closer, says a merchant. You buy one, a braid of gold twine knotted around a glass bead. It hums in your palm. At the edge of the square, you see him. Not Elias, but the boy again, the messenger. He grins. "She said you'd come." "Who?" "The lady with the silver braid, Cordelia." You step closer. "Where is she?" "She says she doesn't linger anymore, but she left something." He hands you a small bundle wrapped in parchment. It smells like rose hips and ash. Inside, a letter. In Cordelia's handwriting. "Darling girl, you asked the wrong question of the garden. It's not what you wanted to forget, but what you were too afraid to remember. Go to the glen where he first bled. Light the candle. Tell the truth. If he's meant to find you again, he will. See." You fold the letter, hands trembling. The glen. You haven't stepped foot there since before. It used to be your favorite place, where you and Elias would hide during storms, curled under firs, trading ghost stories and kisses. You remember the way his thumb traced your cheek like a map he was afraid to lose. By twilight, you reach the glen. It looks smaller now. Or maybe you're larger, filled with so many pieces of lives you're not sure which one belongs to you anymore. You kneel beside the old fire pit. The ground is still blackened. You dig into your coat and find the charm, the twine and bead. You set it beside the letter, and then the candle. Thin, ivory, beeswax probably. It smells like the past. You strike a flint. The flame blooms like memory, and you whisper, "I loved him. I loved him enough to ruin everything." The wind dies. The candle flickers once, then holds. And something shifts. A soft thump. You glance behind you. A figure steps from the trees. Not a ghost, not a dream. A man. Hair longer than you remember, shoulders broader. His clothes ragged, his boots worn through, but the eyes, violet, like dusk holding its breath. Your breath stutters. He steps into the light and says your name, your real name, not the one Elspeth stitched into your second skin, but the name Elias carved into the yew, the name only you and he ever whispered. You stand. Your legs threaten to fold, but your heart keeps you upright. "You came back," you whisper. "I promised," he says. He reaches out. You don't take his hand. You fall into his arms. They wrap around you like everything you lost. You bury your face in his neck and sob like the world's been cracked open. Because maybe it has. Because maybe this time you remember everything. When the real snow comes, it doesn't fall. It floats. A slow, deliberate descent of translucent flakes that shimmer faintly, not white, but opaline, like broken pieces of moonlight. The villagers gather outside to stare. No one dares speak. The baker crosses herself. 2 children cry, but softly, as if their tears might offend the sky. And the sound? Cordelia was right. It isn't music. It's undoing. Like a kiss, torn backward. Like the whisper of lips parting before they ever met. You know it instantly. The bell tower calls to you. You slip on your cloak, wrap your boots in linen to muffle your steps, and disappear into the snow. The silence is a living thing. It presses close, curious, cautious. The bell tower stands just outside the village, skeletal and half forgotten. The door opens before you touch it, just like last time. Just like the night you tried to run. Cordelia waits inside. Her hair is dusted in pearl snow. Her breath clouds the air in soft bursts. She's drawn a circle in salt across the floor. "You came," she says. You nod, stepping into the circle beside her. "Is this how it started?" you ask. She looks at you, then up at the bell above. "No, this is how it ended." You flinch. "Then why bring me here?" "To let you choose whether it ends again." She unwraps a bundle from beneath her cloak, a folded piece of parchment, yellowed with age. You recognize it immediately. Your handwriting. You trace the name at the bottom, yours, but not. "So I knew Elsbeth would kill me." Cordelia nods. "And I still stayed?" "You always do." You read the letter. It's a plea, not for escape, not for revenge, but for remembrance. You had bound your own name to the soul shard so that if you ever returned, you could try again. Not to survive, but to forgive. I didn't want to forget him, the one I loved. Cordelia reaches up, touches your cheek with fingers like lace. You still don't. That's why the roses bloom darker for you. The wind changes. A gust howls through the tower and the bell swings low, chiming once, deep and sorrowful. You feel it in your chest. "Elsbeth knows I'm here," you murmur. She always does. But this time you're not alone. A long silence. Outside, the snow thickens. The trees groan beneath its weight. A fox passes through the clearing, pausing only to look directly at you before disappearing into the hush. Cordelia steps out of the circle. "I have to go," she says. "Why?" "I'm only as real as your memory allows. If you stop believing in me, well, then I go back to wherever dreams wait. Will I see you again?" "When the bell tolls for someone else." She kisses your forehead and vanishes. You stay in the tower until dawn, the letter folded inside your cloak, your hands trembling, not from cold, but from the weight of choice. When you return to the manor, Elsbeth is waiting at the door. Her eyes are bright with stormlight. "So," she says, "you remember." You don't answer. She walks toward you, slow and serpentine, her fingers dragging lightly along the wooden arch. Funny thing about love. It's so easy to rewrite when the beloved can't speak for themselves. "You remember enough," you say. "Do you?" Her head tilts. "Do you remember how he begged me for mercy? How he offered everything, even you, in exchange for his own life?" Your breath catches. She smiles, cruel and slow. Ah, must be one of those memories the roses swallowed. You want to strike her. You want to crumble. But instead, you say, "Why are you afraid of me?" She stills. It's small, a flicker, but it's there. "I'm not afraid," she says too fast. "Then why poison the garden with spells? Why burn my name from the ledger?" Her jaw clenches. Because some lives are better off unwritten. And she turns and leaves. You stand in the foyer, heart thudding, palms sweating inside your gloves. The snow has followed you, tiny flakes melting against your cloak, leaving no trace but a scent of old ink and crushed petals. That night, you open the ledger. The pages are blank, except one. Tucked in the very middle, a page with only your name scribbled once in pale red ink. You press your thumb to it and remember. The orchard. The boy with ink-stained fingers. His name was Elias. He read poetry to you from stolen books. He kissed you beneath the elder tree. He carved your initials into the inside of his boot because he said that way every step would echo your name. You remember his laugh, his promise, his body broken at the bottom of the cliff. You screamed when they took him. Elsbeth had smiled and said he was always meant for ruin. You tried to follow, but the shard had caught you, pulled you back. You sit there now, in the candlelight, shaking. Maybe you were never meant to survive this time. Maybe that's what the roses know. Still, your name is in the ledger now, written once more, and this time, you won't let it be erased. Thomas steps away to tend the hearth, but not before casting you a glance, half wary, half wondering. You sip your soup slowly, its warmth spreading through you like something ancient and golden. The bread is coarse and sweet, oat honey bread, he calls it, and it sticks to your teeth in a way that feels wonderfully real. Outside, the village hums with life. Horse carts clatter over cobblestones. Children's laughter rides the breeze. Somewhere in the distance, a lute plucks out a slow, sweet tune. The bakery door is propped open with a stone, letting the midsummer air drift in, thick with wild flowers and wood smoke. You set your spoon down, fingers resting lightly on the rim of the bowl. There's still a faint ache in your bones, a phantom weight, but you're standing straighter now, breathing easier. Thomas returns, wiping his hands on a cloth. You can stay upstairs a few days if you like, until you get your bearings. Why? You ask quietly. His brows lift. Well, what else would I do? Throw you back out to the wolves? You study him. Your stepmother disagreed. He chuckles, but there's no joy in it. Elspeth disagrees with most things, especially mercy. There it is, the name of the wind that stirs unease. Elspeth. You feel it like the flick of a blade behind your ribs. She's the one in charge, now that Dad's gone. Sort of. He grimaces. She keeps the books and counts the coins. I bake. It works. Does she live here? He nods toward the stairwell. Next room over from yours. So close. Too close. You rise, legs shaky but steadying fast. Is she here now? No, thank the saints. She left for the market early to trade sugar and sneer at strangers. You almost laugh. Come, he says, nudging the door wider. The midsummer fair is worth seeing, even if half the stalls sell nothing but useless ribbons and goat milk soap. You step outside, blinking into the warm light. The cobbled street unfurls before you like a memory returning in fragments. The crooked timber houses with overhanging eaves, the old well draped in blue garlands, a pair of barefoot girls chasing a chicken into a barrel. And above it all, the tower of St. Winifred's Chapel rising like a watchful eye. As you walk beside Thomas, he tells you about midsummer traditions. He says, "Folk believe if you catch a falling blossom from the ash tree by the chapel, you'll dream of your true love that night." He shrugs. Of course, the ash hasn't bloomed in years, but we still pretend. You pass a group of women selling charms, bundles of sage wrapped in red string, love knots carved in birchwood, wax dolls with twigs for hair. One seller, an old woman with silver threaded braids, watches you too closely. Thomas notices. "Don't mind her. That's Mother Glinna. She thinks everyone's a changeling until proven otherwise." You don't ask what a changeling is. You think you remember. A twist of smoke rides the wind. Roasted apples, boiled wine, beeswax candles shaped like swans, and beneath the sweetness, a hum, a pressure behind your ears. The world feels like it's leaning toward you just a slightly, like it remembers something you said in a dream. As you turn a corner, Thomas slows. His gaze sharpens. His jaw tightens. Following his eyes, you see her. Elspeth. She stands at a velvet-draped stall lined with perfume vials and embroidered gloves, her posture as perfect as it is cold. Dark hair in an elaborate twist, emerald ribbons, cheekbones so sharp they could file bone. She hasn't seen you yet. Thomas takes your elbow. "Let's go this way." But you don't move, because in that moment, Elspeth looks up and meets your eyes. Her smile is slow, too slow. She knows you. You don't know how you know that, but you do. A breeze dances past. The hem of your borrowed dress lifts like a whisper. Somewhere nearby, a child drops a bell and it rings out sharply against the stones. Elspeth's smile widens. Thomas tugs your arm. "Come on!" You follow, legs suddenly weak again. Your throat tastes like ash. Back in the bakery, Thomas closes the door and leans against it, exhaling. "You all right?" You nod, but you're lying. He doesn't press. Instead, he grabs a cloth bundle from the counter and holds it out to you. "I made something this morning, was gonna sell it, but..." You open the bundle to find a small peach tart, still warm. Your breath catches. "How did you..." "What?" You touch the crust. "I dreamed of this last night, before I woke." He's quiet, a long moment. "Maybe you're part witch." You almost say, "Maybe you're part prophecy," but instead you take a bite. It's perfect. Outside, bells begin to toll from the chapel. 12 chimes. Midsummer is halfway over. A gust of wind kicks through the open windows, scattering flour dust across the counter. And you remember, just for a second, how it felt to die alone under a peach tree, your name forgotten, your hands empty. Maybe you weren't meant to survive this time, but maybe you were. Summer folds into itself like warm parchment, edges curling into dusk and dew. The nights in Bramblewick are longer now, quieter in a way that settles into your bones like a lullaby you almost remember the words to. You and Elias live slow. He whistles while kneading dough, you hum while folding linens. You've both developed the oddly romantic habit of leaving notes for each other, on eggshells, stitched into handkerchiefs, even once carved into a carrot. It started as a joke, a superstition from the northern towns. If you hide your heart in a secret place, it will bloom where it's planted. Maybe that's why the tomatoes are doing so well this year. One morning, you wake before dawn. There's a sliver of moon still caught in the window frame, like it's waiting for permission to leave. You lie still, watching Elias breathe. You think about the girl you once were, the girl who wore another name, who reached for things too sharp, who thought love was a transaction. You whisper to no one, "I remember you." Outside, a fox howls. They say if a fox cries at twilight, it means a choice is coming. You drift back to sleep anyway. If a choice comes, you'll make it together. Later that week, while sorting through a bundle of dried herbs, you find something strange. A coin, smooth as river glass, etched with 2 words, "Forget me." The ink rubs off on your fingertips like pollen. You bring it to Elias, who tilts his head and squints. That's Cordelia's. Or was. You both go quiet. A beat passes. "Maybe she wants us to let go," you say softly. "Or maybe she wants us to remember she was real." He smiles at you over the rim of his mug. "You always give me these impossible riddles before tea." "Well," you say, tucking the coin into a jar of sugar, "maybe love is the riddle." That night, you dream of Cordelia dancing in a field of tall grass, her mask gone, her hair whipping like silver thread. She doesn't speak, but she smiles like she's proud. When you wake, the jar with the coin is gone. But the sugar tastes sweeter. Fall deepens. The villagers begin preparing for the Festival of Endings. You've been asked to bake the ceremonial loaf, a tradition believed to keep winter from stealing the last breath of the old year. You and Elias braid the dough into the shape of a bird. Superstition says if the wings rise evenly, someone in town will find true love before the first frost. They rise perfectly. You're not surprised when Tom the butcher proposes to Mabel the beekeeper 3 days later. They ask you to cater the wedding. You agree on one condition: no black salt at the reception. They laugh. You bake them a cake layered with quince and honey, and when the couple cuts it, they say it tastes like belonging. Later, you and Elias sit outside the bakery steps, your hands sticky with icing. He leans against your shoulder and murmurs, "We did that." We nod. "We're witches now, culinary witches." "Speak for yourself," he teases. "I'm just here for the jam." But you both know better. Love made this. It remade you. One night, as you lock the bakery, you feel it. That subtle shift in the air, like something has finished or is about to begin again. You find a feather by the door, not from any bird you know. You turn to Elias. "Do you believe in reincarnation?" He shrugs, thoughtful. "I believe we get second chances. Even if we mess up the first one?" He kisses your forehead, "Especially then." You close your eyes, pressing your face into the crook of his neck. Maybe we were always meant to meet again. Maybe every version of me still finds you. "You always do," he says, "even if you arrive with no name and bread flour in your hair." You laugh. "Then don't let me forget who I am next time." He wraps his arms around you. "You're June. You smell like cinnamon, and you hum off key, and you love too much. That's who you are." "And who are you?" you whisper. He kisses your nose. "I'm yours." Outside, the wind carries leaves past your feet, and you feel it again. That subtle tug of magic, the barely there trace of the life before. But you don't reach for it. You've already lived it. You're here now. You're loved, and the past, as strange and shadowed as it was, can stay where it belongs. whispered in legend, folded into firelight, kissed on the edge of your dreams. The nights are quieter now. Even the stars seem to hush themselves above Bramblewick, blinking slowly behind wisps of cloud, like they too are drowsy with peace. You sit on the windowsill with a cup of warm milk and honey, Elias snoring softly behind you, one hand still tucked where it always is, underneath your pillow, as if guarding your dreams. You trace the rim of the cup with your finger and think about all the lives you've lived, all the names you wore, all the people you lost, and all the warmth you thought you'd never feel again. Here, in this simple cottage of patched walls and mismatched chairs, you found something better than grand halls or forbidden glances. You found a life stitched with quiet glories, flour-dusted aprons, whispered goodnights, the way he always picks the raisins out of your scones, even when you pretend not to notice. You found love. Real love. The kind that doesn't ask for anything but your presence. The kind that meets you where you are, even if where you are is halfway broken, halfway reborn. Maybe you were never meant to survive that first life. Maybe that was the point. To break. To fall. To rise again. Not into the same story, but a better one. A quieter one. You tip your head back, let the moonlight kiss your eyelids, and exhale. Everything you were still lives inside you, but tonight you are only this. Warm, whole, home. The wind sighs through the eaves like a lullaby written just for you, and you let yourself go gently into the dark, the world holding you the way love always should. Softly, without question, without end. The snow begins 3 days later. Not gentle flakes, not soft winter drifts. No, this snow bites. It arrives angry, sideways, with a wind that screams through shutters and rattles bones. You and Elias stack firewood until your arms ache. Every candle in the cottage is lit. You leave the oven door cracked just to keep warmth breathing. By the second night, the world outside disappears. It's like the village has been swallowed whole. Cordelia sends a note with the baker's son. Stay inside. Do not answer if they knock. That night, something does knock. 3 times. You and Elias sit frozen beside the fire, hands still wrapped in flour cloths, hearts pounding like hunted things. No voice follows, no second round. Only that hollow echo, knuckles on wood, fading into silence. You don't open the door. You don't sleep. The third night, the snow stops, but what replaces it is worse. Stillness. The kind of stillness you remember from dreams where you're buried alive. Even the birds are gone. The brook has frozen over. Not a single footprint in the white outside your door. Elias stands by the window. There's someone in the orchard, he murmurs. You move beside him. At first you see nothing. Just the frost-painted trees and the way the branches curl like reaching fingers. Then, there, a figure, unmoving, cloaked in gray, head bowed. Elspeth, you whisper. He shakes his head. Too tall. The figure turns. The face beneath the hood is smooth, blank. A white mask, like polished bone. They raise a hand, not in greeting, but warning, and vanish without motion like fog swallowed by itself. You remember Cordelia's words, "There are others who prefer the old ways remain unbroken." You suddenly feel very breakable. That night, you dream again. But it's not just yours. You're in a hall, vast and dim, lined with candles that burn upside down. You're kneeling, Elias beside you. Your hands are bound in red ribbon. Before you, a throne of woven roots, empty. And around you, figures in masks. No eyes, no mouths, only silence and cold, and one word whispered by 100 voices. Return. You wake, gasping. Elias does too. It was the same. I heard them say, return. You sit in bed, tangled in wool sheets, breath tight in your chest. Return to what, you ask? Maybe they mean our death, Elias says. You joke, softly, that if they want you dead, they should wait until after breakfast. It's a local superstition that nothing bad ever happens before tea. It's also untrue, but everyone repeats it anyway. You do have tea, and toasted bread with honeycomb. But the fear lingers, sharp at the edges. Later, Cordelia visits. She says very little. She touches your face, your shoulder, your heartbeat. She burns rosemary by the hearth. Then she tells you the worst part. She says, they don't kill. They erase. You blink. What does that mean? They remove your story, your memory. They make it so your love never happened, so no one ever speaks your name again. Elias stiffens. That's not death. That's theft. Cordelia nods. That's power, and they've used it before. The silence after is louder than thunder. So you prepare. The next few days are spent gathering, not weapons, stories. Cordelia helps you bind your memories to things. A button from your first cloak. A spoon Elias carved for your birthday. A pressed flower from the first walk you ever took together. Each is wrapped in ribbon, soaked in salt, buried beneath the hearth. She says, if they come for your past, let the earth fight for it too. On the 6th day, the figure returns. This time, they come to the door. 3 knocks. You and Elias stand holding hands. Then a voice, not loud, not soft, but inevitable, slips through the wood. Reclaimers, you defied the silence. You must unmake what you made. You don't speak. Elias squeezes your hand. We see your threads. We know your binding. Return your lives to stillness, or we will unravel them. You reply. Your voice is steady. You'll have to rip it from us. A pause. Then, so be it. The figure doesn't leave. It dissipates. You don't open the door, but you feel it. The ritual beginning. That night, the wind stops entirely. A pressure builds in the house, like you're underwater. Then the walls begin to whisper. Not words, memories. The first kiss beneath the plum tree. The laughter you couldn't hold back when he fell in the pond. The time you were so tired you both fell asleep in the cellar. The house bleeds your love. And with every whispered thread, You feel the pressure increase. "They're trying to untie us," Elias breathes. You run to the hearth, dig through the ashes, pull out the ribbon-wrapped objects. They pulse with warmth. You place them on the floor between you. Elias reaches for the spoon. You grab the pressed flour. You hold them like armor and whisper together, "We remember." A hum begins. The house groans. And then a laugh. Not yours, not Elias's. A laugh sharp and cruel from inside your walls. "Then we shall burn what binds you." The candles burst. The hearth flames leap, and the world begins to tilt. You grab Elias. "Don't let go," you gasp. "Never," he says. And as the wind returns, not cold, but full, you feel everything coming undone. Not you and him, but time itself. And somewhere inside the chaos, a question blooms. Maybe you were never meant to survive this time. You wake to birdsong. Not the cheerful kind. They're crows, cawing like funeral guests too bored to grieve properly. Perched outside your window, they stare at you like they know something you don't. You stare right back. It's the first morning since the bell tower. The world feels heavier, like it's been rewritten just slightly askew. Your room, once a soft cocoon of quilts and honey light, now hums with tension. The air smells faintly of cloves, salt, and wax. Elspeth's wards. You brush your fingertips over the windowsill. Someone has scratched a shape into the wood. A loop. A sigil. You trace it, and for a second, your vision flickers. Elias. Laughing, barefoot in the frost, tugging your hand toward the stream where fireflies blink like lanterns on parade, his breath visible in the chill, his voice whispering promises you still half remember. You stagger back. It fades. You decide to avoid Elspeth today, which is to say you intend to, but fate, of course, yawns at your intentions. At breakfast, she's waiting, sipping tea with that sharp, angular grace that makes everything look like a threat. She wears crimson today, as if to remind you what blood looks like on silk. "Sleep well?" she asks sweetly. "I dreamed of Elias." The way she freezes is microscopic, a twitch in the corner of her mouth, a blink too slow. "How nostalgic of you. That phase was so muddy." You sit across from her, pouring yourself tea without asking. You killed him. Technically, the fall did. And you? What, just happened to be there? She lifts the piece of toast, eyes gleaming. "Careful, darling. Memory is a tricky thing. Especially yours." A beat. "You tampered with the roses." "Oh, please. You think I'd waste magic on sentimentality?" "You erased him from me." Her smile fades. "You were better without him," she murmurs, almost too softly to hear. "You were mine." There it is, the crack. Elspeth doesn't fear you, she fears losing you. You rise. "I'm going to the orchard." "Don't be foolish." "Funny," you say. "That's what you called love last time." You leave before she can answer. Outdoors, the snow has retreated. The paths are wet and gleaming like glass. The orchard stretches before you like a cathedral, bare branches twisting into Gothic arches, shadows like scripture under your boots. And there, under the elder tree, you find it. A boot. Old. Split at the heel. The leather is nearly gone, but you see the carving still. 2 initials. Yours and Elias's. You press it to your chest and collapse to your knees. The wind stirs. You close your eyes. He's here. Somewhere in the memory of this place. Somewhere in the folds of time that stitched you back together. You remember something Cordelia said. Not to survive, but to forgive. You're not there yet, but you want to be. Behind you, someone coughs. You turn, expecting Elspeth or worse, nothing at all. But it's a boy, not Elias. Younger, about 15. Straw-colored hair, wide eyes that flinch when you speak. Sorry, didn't mean to. Just, Miss Cordelia said I'd find you here. Your heart skips. You knew Cordelia? She helped my mom when she was sick. Gave her a charm. What kind? The boy fishes in his pocket, pulls out a small sachet of dried mint and lavender. Said it keeps sorrow from sinking too deep. A custom of your village, now fading. People used to hang them on cribs or beneath pillows. You had one once. You hold out your hand. He gives it to you. Cordelia wanted me to tell you, he says shyly, that the roses only remember what's asked of them. You blink. What does that mean? He shrugs. Guess you should ask. He leaves you alone again, the sachet warm in your palm. That night, you go back to the garden. The roses are asleep, their petals drawn inward like secrets hiding from the moon. You kneel by the oldest one, midnight-hued, the color of spilled ink on parchment. You touch the stem and whisper, "What did I ask you to forget?" The petals quiver, then bloom. Images slam into your mind like shutters thrown open in a storm. Elspeth in your room, whispering over your body, bleeding light into the rosebuds on the sill. Your sobs, hoarse and endless, as you begged the plants to take the pain. Cordelia's voice, you can't heal and forget at the same time. You did this. You begged the garden to eat your grief. You fed your own memories to the roots. And now, you're starving for what you gave away. Tears stream down your cheeks. The roses tremble in response, as if unsure whether to comfort or scold. Above, the stars blur. You lie back on the damp earth. Maybe you were never meant to survive this time. But maybe survival isn't the point. Maybe remembrance is. Maybe forgiveness begins in fragments. And maybe, just maybe, you can still rewrite the ending. You don't let go of him for a long time. The woods blur, the glen disappears. Your fingers curl in the fabric of his coat, rough wool, still damp with dew. Elias holds you like he's trying to relearn the weight of you, like he's not entirely convinced this isn't some final fevered dream. You breathe against his throat, and it's the first real breath you've taken in lifetimes. Finally, you step back. He looks older, not in the worn way of time, but in the way someone looks after carrying too many yesterdays alone. You brush your fingers down his cheek, and he leans into the touch like a prayer. "I died," you say quietly. "I know." You died. I remember. You both laugh and it breaks, not because it's funny, but because you're both so stunned by the fact you can. He leads you to a hollow beneath a tree where he's been sleeping. There's a blanket, thin, patched, and smelling of pine, and a chipped mug half filled with rainwater. You sit down beside him, legs folded under you. Where have you been, you ask? He smiles, faint and bitter. Not far, but further than I could reach you. You look at the yew charm beside the candle stub. Why didn't you come back? He tried. Elspeth. She didn't just banish me. She cursed me. Said if I stepped into town again, I'd forget you. Every hour, a piece of you vanished. Your voice, your eyes, your laugh. I held onto your name until it was all I had. You stare. And then I wrote it on the yew tree, over and over, until it was carved into the bones of the bark. You remember touching that tree once, feeling a pulse under the grain. That's how I found you again. Not by face, by sound. I heard your name in the wind. The moment stills. In this land, names hold power. Some believe that if you whisper your lover's true name into a river and set a white petal afloat, your souls will meet again before your bodies do. Maybe you never needed to beg the stars after all. He brushes your hand with his. So, he says, voice barely a murmur. What now? You smile, though it wavers. I think we go home. His brow arches. Home? Elspeth has questions to answer. That's putting it mildly. You walk back together. The forest seems softer, as if it's sighing with you, as if the trees have been waiting for this reunion. Elias's hand never leaves yours, and though you've walked this path 1,000 times in a dozen memories, it feels new, as if each step is a fresh page in a story you were meant to finish together. The village stares when you enter. Some recognize Elias, though his face has grown older. Others just know something ancient has returned. And Elspeth? She's waiting. She doesn't gasp, doesn't faint. She just leans against the porch post and says, "Well, that's inconvenient." "Why?" you demand. "Why keep us apart?" Elspeth shrugs. "You were young, foolish, in love, and you threatened everything." You step closer. "What did we threaten, Elspeth? Your pride?" She scoffs. "My power, my silence, my place. Do you know what it's like to spend a century mastering rebirth spells only for two idiot teenagers to stumble into soul binding?" You blink. Wait. Century? Elias narrows his eyes. "You're not just some bitter midwife, are you?" Elspeth sighs. "Hardly. I was once like you. Bright-eyed. Stupid. I loved someone too." There's a flicker of sadness in her voice. "He left. Said he couldn't bear the weight of immortality, so I made sure no one else would ever outlove me again." That's when you realize. She didn't curse you because she hated you. She cursed you because she envied you. You say, "Cordelia tried to stop you." Elspeth smirks. Cordelia doesn't understand balance. She always believed in love too much. And you didn't believe enough, Elias snaps. You step between them. Elspeth, we're not asking for your blessing, but we are taking back what's ours. She raises an eyebrow. And what if I say no? You smile, quiet and certain. Then try to stop us again. But this time, you'll have to do it with the whole village watching. A hush falls over the square. People are gathered now, faces peeking from windows, boots pausing in mid-step. Rumors move faster than curses here, and magic, once exposed, is hard to bottle back up. Elspeth looks around. She sees the eyes, the fear, the hope. For a long moment, she says nothing. Then, she steps back. It won't last, the bond, the bliss. Nothing ever does. Maybe, but we'll take the time we're given. She walks inside, and the door closes behind her. The town exhales. You turn to Elias. His eyes are still violet, still filled with that ancient promise. What now? He asks again. You grin. We live. You find a cottage on the edge of the woods. It's abandoned, cracked with moss and shadow, but the windows catch the dawn and the air smells like rose hips and home. You spend the next few days rebuilding. The roof leaks, the floor groans. There's a mouse who lives in the pantry and insists on stealing every crumb of honey bread. Elias names him Benedict. And every morning when you wake up tangled together, he kisses the back of your neck and whispers, "Still here," as if he can't quite believe it. You can't either. But then again, maybe you were never meant to survive this time. Maybe you were meant to live it. The floor splits beneath your feet. Not like an earthquake. No, this is stranger, crueler. The wooden planks warp and buckle, curling like dried petals, revealing not dirt or stone, but memory. You glimpse it the first time Elias touched your face, the night he stitched your apron without asking, a glint of moonlight on frost as you whispered, "I would have waited 100 winters for you." And then, rip. A masked hand, pale as ash, reaches through. You scream. Elias yanks you backward. The hearth objects tumble. The flour withers. The spoon cracks. Cordelia bursts in without knocking, hair wild, coat soaked in snow that hasn't fallen yet. "They're unraveling you," she shouts. "Hold the threads. Speak your story. Speak it." You choke out the first thing that comes to your lips. "I was a baker's daughter. I lived in Bramblewick. I hated Sundays and loved burnt toast. I fell in love with a man who smelled like a lavender and old books." Elias joins in. "I carved your name into the side of my bed before I ever knew what it meant to miss someone." You speak together, words tumbling. "We danced in the rain. We kissed in the hayloft. We fought over whether peaches were better dried or fresh." Cordelia slams something into the center of the floor. A bowl of black salt. The wind howls. The masked figure flickers at the edge of sight. "You've bound yourselves too tightly," it hisses. "That kind of love leaves shadows." And the air grows darker. You can't see the walls anymore. You're floating in the dim. Cordelia's voice is fading. "The last thing, quick, one of you must choose. Speak the tether." "What tether?" Elias shouts. She looks at you and says, "The thing you'd give up to save what you are." Silence. Time stretches, aching. And then softly you answer. My name. Elias turns to you. No! But you repeat it. Take my name. Take my history. Let me be forgotten, but let us remain. A beat. The wind pauses. The masked figure tilts its head. You would offer that? You nod. Not my story, just the cover. Cordelia's hands fly, salt-flung words muttered, herbs burned. The masked figure recoils. You have rewritten fate, it breathes, then vanishes like dust. The storm stops. The candles relight. The house is still. Elias kneels beside you, breathing hard, eyes wide. You won't be forgotten, he whispers. I'll remember every breath you've ever taken. You lean into him. You'd better, or I'll come back and haunt your socks. A faint laugh trembles through the air. Cordelia is already sweeping up the salt. She says, you bound them to the earth. Now they can't erase you. But the name, it's gone. You nod. You feel it too. That tug behind your ribs, like something missing where your past once sat. I suppose I'll need a new one. Elias stands, brushing ash from your shoulders. How about June? You blink. June? It's warm, it's hopeful, it smells like plum blossom and bread. You think on it. You don't hate it. All right, you smile. June. He leans down, presses his forehead to yours. Hello, June. I'm Elias. I think I love you. You laugh. I think you're late. Outside, the world remains quiet. But something has changed. The trees seem brighter. The brook, once frozen, begins to crackle back to life. Cordelia places the broken spoon and the dried flour into a new jar. Keep this, she says. It's your second first memory. That night, you and Elias sit by the fire. There's no need to speak. He pulls out the thread and needle, repairs your apron. You hand him the last piece of gingerbread. He breaks it in two. Outside, Bramblewick dreams. You hear its breath in the wind, soft and sure. And beneath it, a whisper just for you. Not all stories must end to be complete. Later, you watch the stars from bed. Elias's hand rests on your back, fingers tracing slow circles like lullabies. You murmur, "Do you think they'll come again?" He shrugs. "Let them. We'll just fall in love all over again." You grin into the pillows. "Maybe next time I'll be the one who smells like old books." He snorts. "You smell like jam and stubbornness." Romantic. Terribly. And then quiet. Until he whispers, "I'd lose my name too." You reach for his hand in the dark. "No need. I'll remember it for the both of us." And somewhere in the corner of the room, behind the wooden beams and rosemary sprigs, something unseen sighs contentedly, as if satisfied with the chapter just written. You don't realize the rite worked until the next morning. The village feels softer, not quieter. No, there are still chickens being unreasonable, still milkmaids yelling at goats, but the edges have dulled. The wind no longer bites, it brushes. The shadows stretch, but they no longer reach. People look at you differently now. Some with awe, some with suspicion, some with a cautious kind of hope that tastes like morning dew. You and Elias walk through the market hand in hand. A small boy tugs his mother's skirt and whispers, "Is that the couple from the stories?" She hushes him, but not unkindly. Elias grins sideways at you. "Are we legends now?" You reply, "Only in the least useful ways. No one asks legends to do laundry." Still, there's a comfort to the new rhythm. You build a bench beneath the yew tree. Cordelia brings you a weathered book with blank pages. She says it's for rewriting your history. "Use it well," she murmurs. "Some stories deserve happier endings." One evening, the baker leaves 2 cinnamon buns on your doorstep, shaped like entwined hearts. You eat them without question. Superstition claims sweet bread, gifted after a rite, must never be refused. It binds luck to your roof beams. You learn to like luck. It doesn't always arrive, but when it does, it's usually wearing crumbs. Elspeth doesn't disappear. You see her often now, though she never comes close. She watches from the edges, her cloak blending with trees, her expression unreadable. Once, she nods. Just once. And you nod back. You wonder if forgiveness always feels like this. Incomplete, unspoken, and yet somehow enough. But peace, again, does not last. One morning, as fog blankets the hills and the first frost dusts your porch, a letter arrives by crow. You take it with one gloved hand, frowns, and hands it to you. The seal is unfamiliar. A sigil pressed into red wax. A stag's skull flanked by thorns. You open it carefully. The parchment crackles like dried leaves. To the reclaimed lovers of Dellenmore, your actions have disturbed more than you know. The curse you unbound was one thread of many. There are others who prefer the old ways remain unbroken. We are watching. Choose wisely what you awaken next. No signature. No return. Just a ripple of cold under your skin that no fire can burn away. Elias reads it twice, then sighs. "You ever feel like we're the only people in this village who aren't in a cult?" You half smile. "Maybe we're just the ones you got caught loving each other too loudly." Cordelia reads the letter and grows very quiet. She tells you about the Order of Hollow Mercy. Old, hidden, believers in eternal cycles and secret stillness. They consider rebirth a sin against fate. And apparently, they now know your names. You look at Elias. "Are we in danger?" Cordelia shrugs. "Probably, but what else is new?" A few days later, your windows rattle, though there's no wind. A trail of dead moths appear by the door. You find a charm of twigs and black thread hanging from your peach tree. It's not spell out a single word. Undo. Elias burns it, but the unease remains. You start waking in the night, heart racing. You dream of silver hoods and hollow voices, of a stone altar in a place you don't remember, where someone weeps without making a sound. And one night, you wake not from fear, but from a soft, insistent call, a whisper through the wall. "Elspeth?" You stumble outside in your nightdress, the hem soaked in dew. The trees are silent, the stars are low. You find her near the brook, kneeling by the water's edge. She turns before you speak. "They'll come for you," she says. "They'll claim you broke balance, that you spit on the wheel." "We didn't." "I know, but they don't care." You sit beside her, heart still thudding. You were one of them, you say gently. Once, before love made me foolish. You want to ask more, but she stands. They won't touch me, she adds. I'm already cursed enough. But you two, you're the miracle. And they hate miracles, most of all. She disappears into mist. You walk home slowly, Elias waiting at the door, worry drawn across his brow. They're coming, aren't they? You nod. But we've already died once, you remind him. Twice, technically. Right, you smile faintly. So what's a third time between soulmates? Still, neither of you sleeps. The next morning, you bake. Baking feels like control, like creation. You mix cinnamon and ginger, grind dried rose petals into flour, and whisper small prayers into each fold of dough. A local superstition says bread shaped into spirals will protect the home from unraveling. You shape 5 dozen ends and hang them like garlands. The house smells like memory and defiance. Later, you sit at the hearth with Elias, staring into the flames. If they come, you say, we don't run. He nods. We stand, together. You hold his hand. Outside, the frost begins to melt. But you know what's coming. And this time, you're ready.
Hey guys, tonight we wake up to the soft scent of warm bread and beeswax in a bed that isn't yours, in a room you've never seen, and yet every heartbeat thuds like it remembers something about this place. The walls are slanted oak, rough and dark with age. The air is still, but not stale. Dust motes dance in a shaft of early sunlight slanting in through a crooked window. Somewhere below, a bird sings a note too hopeful for a morning like this. You lie still, listening, breathing, trying to decide if you're dreaming or remembering. There's a thin quilt over your legs, stitched in faded reds and deep, sad blues. The thread's worn thin where someone's fingers must have clutched it night after night. Whoever owns this blanket, whatever sorrows it holds, you've inherited them now. Or maybe you brought your own. Your name isn't clear yet, but your pulse knows it. A cheeky thought flickers. Well, good news. You've been reborn in a bed this time, not buried in some ditch. Progress. So before you get comfortable, take a moment to like the video and subscribe my channel, Whisper Audio, but only if you genuinely enjoy what I do here. Let me know where you're listening from. An old attic, the backseat of a bus, tucked under the covers with your cat refusing to move. I want to know. Now, dim the lights, maybe turn on a fan for that soft background hum, and let's ease into tonight's journey together. Your hands, new or old or borrowed, press into the feather-stuffed mattress beneath you as you sit up. The quilt falls away, and the chill of morning nips at your collarbone. You're wearing a nightshirt, finely woven but threadbare, with patches that suggest it belonged to someone practical and poor. The room is small but cozy. A round window, too low to the ground to be useful, a wooden washstand, a small stool, and, there, in the corner, a little hearth with a clay oven built snug into it, still warm. You take a breath. The smell hits you first. Yeast, flour, ashes, and just the barest hint of dried lavender. It makes your stomach growl and your throat ache. How long since you last ate or lived? A knock. You flinch. Then the door creaks open and in steps a boy. Well,
Not a boy, really. Young man. Broad shoulders beneath a simple linen tunic, sleeves rolled up, hands dusted with flour, hair the color of chestnut bark. Eyes soft gray like the sky before a storm. He freezes when he sees you sitting upright. You can see it clearly. He didn't expect you to wake. Not yet. Maybe not at all. "Oh," he says, rubbing a hand behind his neck. Well, good morning." You tilt your head. You were soaked through last night. You came stumbling down the path from the east, barely standing, muttering something about ribbons and fire, collapsed on our steps. My stepmother didn't want to let you in, but... He shrugs, smile faint. "Didn't seem right leaving you out there." He glances at your hands, as if expecting them to do something strange. They don't. "I'm Thomas. My dad used to run the bakery here before he passed. I do what I can now." You nod slowly. "Thank you," you whisper. The voice is yours. That's something. Soft, dry, uncertain. He brightens. "We've a bit of bread left if you're hungry." Your stomach answers for you. Downstairs, the bakery smells like heaven. Cracked stone floors, iron racks hung with cooling loaves, a long counter slick with butter and sugar crumbs. You sit at a rough-hewn table by the window while Thomas ladles soup into a chipped bowl. "You're lucky," he says as he sets it down. "It's Midsummer's Eve, feast day. Market's full of fools and fiddlers." "Lucky?" you echo. He nods, then leans in a bit closer, voice dropping. According to village superstition, anyone who wakes up on midsummer in someone else's home is either an angel or a ghost. He winks. "Guess we'll find out, You manage a smile. As you eat, slow, careful spoonfuls, your eyes drift to a painting above the hearth. A tree, wide and knotted, with delicate white blossoms. You don't remember ever seeing it, and yet your chest tightens as though you've stood under its branches before. "Is that tree real?" you ask. Thomas glances up. "It was," he says. "Used to grow right behind the house. A peach tree, old as the hills." "What happened to it?" He hesitates. "It burned one summer night, long ago. Folks say it was cursed." You touch your wrist, suddenly cold. Maybe you were never meant to survive this time. Maybe you weren't meant to wake up at all. And yet, here you are. The rose song lingers long after you leave the garden. It follows you like a perfume, like a whisper through the threads of your reborn skin. By morning, it's settled into your bones, quiet but present, like a tune half remembered in a language that no longer exists. Elspeth watches you more closely now. She says nothing for days, but you catch her gaze lingering on your hands, your mouth, your shadow. Thomas keeps his head down. Custard won't go near the windows, and you begin to feel charged, as if a storm is living just under your skin, waiting for a reason to rise. The townspeople grow curious. A young woman named Isolde brings you eggs wrapped in cloth and asks if you were raised in the city. You tell her no. She laughs. "Well, you speak like you were, like books and bells and all that." You shrug. "Maybe I'm remembering someone else's words." She nods as if that makes perfect sense. In Harrowend, maybe it does. As she walks away, she touches your wrist gently. "For luck," she says. "We used to bless the resurrected that way. Before the wars. Before the price got too high." You raise a brow. "What price?" Her smile falters. Memory or love? That night, you dream of the peach tree, only this time someone is under it. Someone you loved once, a long time ago. He's blurred at the edges like a painting that's been rained on, but his voice is steady. You left me, he says. You reach out. I didn't mean to. You always do. You wake with a gasp and find Elspeth sitting at the foot of your bed. She's holding the black-laced rose you touched days ago. Its petals are still singing, but it sounds different now. Deeper, thirstier. You've changed the tune, she says. You don't move. The roses feed on memory, she continues, plucking a single petal and letting it fall to the floor. They taste your sadness once. They drink your hope twice. 3 times. She looks at you. They bloom with your secrets. Then why plant them, you ask? She smiles, dreamy and cold. Because secrets make beautiful things. You sit up. What do you want from me? Want? She stands, brushing imaginary dust from her skirts. Nothing. You're already giving. When she leaves, the rose still sings. You burn it in the hearth. It takes far too long to catch. The next morning, the first storm of the season rolls in. Soft, strange snow that melts as it touches the earth, leaving trails of steam instead of frost. The townspeople call it ghost snow. They say it's the spirits testing the soil, checking if the living are still worth haunting. You help Thomas repair a broken shutter on the west wing. I dreamed of someone, you tell him. He doesn't look up. Who? I don't know, but he blamed me. Thomas nods. That's how they always start. They? The ones who have been pulled back. You watch the snow through the cracked window. It melts like tears down the glass. Do you believe I've lived before? You ask. I think you never stopped. That night, Elspeth hosts a gathering. She calls it a supper. You know better. The table is set with violet candles and bone-white dishes. The guests arrive cloaked, all of them smiling too tightly. Some of them wear rings made from blackstone, a material said to crack if it touches someone who's cheated death. Yours doesn't crack, but it hums faintly, like it's nervous. Across the table, a woman named Cordelia watches you. Her eyes are the same gray as river fog. She lifts her cup. To the bloom, she says. The others echo, to the bloom. You lift yours last. Later, as the candles drip into skeletons of wax, and the last guest lingers by the piano, you wander into the parlor and find Cordelia standing before the mirror. She doesn't blink. Do you remember me yet? She asks. You freeze. I gave you the ribbon, for the fall, when your hair was longer. You step forward slowly. It was blue, with stars stitched along the edge. Her smile is soft. You kept it hidden in your boot. Until Elspeth found it, you whisper. Cordelia nods, and burned it. A pause. Why did I die? You ask. She tilts her head. Because you loved someone Elspeth couldn't control. The mirror warps behind her. Your reflection is not yours. It's older, wiser, sorrow-soaked. Cordelia touches the glass. She's doing it again, she says, twisting the ending. You stare. Then help me. I can't stay. Not yet. But I'll be near the bell tower, when the first real snow comes. You'll know it by the sound it makes. What sound? A kiss breaking in reverse. She vanishes. You blink, and the mirror is just a mirror again. That night, as you lie awake, the mark on your wrist pulses faintly. You realize something else. The shard didn't just bind to your soul. It remembers the person you once loved, and it's waiting. Maybe not for Elspeth's ruin. Maybe not for your healing. Maybe it's waiting for a choice you haven't made yet. One that could unmake everything.
You don't sleep. You lie in bed, the lumen shard curled against your palm like a tiny heart, pulsing with something not quite light. The ceiling groans above you, the beams breathing their age. Somewhere far off, a bell tolls. 4 slow chimes that feel like echoes of a funeral you've already attended. Eventually, the shard warms, then cools, then vanishes altogether. No, melts into your skin. You sit up too fast. The world spins once and steadies. There's no pain, just an absence. Like something's been plucked from you and tucked inside a pocket you didn't know you had. You check the pouch. Empty. The superstition had a second part, didn't it? If the shard disappears, your soul owes a debt. Lovely. You rise. By the time the sun smudges the edge of the sky with peach light, you're already at the back garden, digging your hands into the frost-hardened soil, pulling stubborn weeds. Elspeth had left a list, 10 things to do, 3 warnings, and 1 line written in ink that bled slightly at the edge. Do not touch the black-veined roses, not even once. So, naturally, you touch them first. Their petals are velvet. They hum faintly as if remembering a song too old for sound. When your fingertips brush the thorns, the roses sway, not from wind, from instinct. You pull back. The superstition about them whispers into your brain like water under a door. Black-thorned roses only grow where betrayal has rooted deep. Lovely again. You spend the rest of the morning shoveling coal, mending a cracked windowsill, and quietly feeding the tabby that lives under the woodpile. Her name, according to Thomas, is Custard. She hates Elspeth, loves fig peels, and bites only when you're foolish enough to trust her. By midday, you're sweat-streaked and starving. Thomas waves you in. Lunch, he says, before Elspeth returns from church and finds another soul to scald. You join him at the worn kitchen table. Bread, stew, soft apples with cheese. He's outdone himself again. But you notice his hands shake slightly when he pours the cider. You okay? He tries to smile. She saw you with the roses. You stop chewing. She said nothing? Not yet. He takes a bite of bread. But she will. You push the plate away. Tell me the truth. About the roses. About her. He rubs the back of his neck. There's an old saying in Harrowend. Beware the widow who plants what cannot be picked. She's not a widow, you say. Not officially, but she keeps his heart in a vial. It's buried under those roses. You stare. That's a superstition, you say too quickly. Sure, just like the shard under your skin. You go still. He glances at you, then back down at his plate. I saw the mark this morning. Below your wrist, silver thread under the skin, lumen deep. You don't speak. It means you're bound to something.
he adds. What does it want? No one knows. He leans in. But the shard always comes to someone for a reason. A soul that shouldn't have returned. A path that's been interrupted. By who? You ask. The door slams. Thomas flinches. Elspeth enters, all furs and perfume and cool disdain. Did you touch the roses? You meet her eyes. Yes. She smiles, slowly. Then you've chosen. Thomas stands. Enough, she's done nothing wrong. Oh, hush, she says, drifting past. She sealed it already. Haven't you felt it? You don't answer. I've met souls like you before, born out of time, stitched back wrong. You smell death. You wear it. That earns a twitch of her mouth. Not quite a smile, not quite fury. She turns, graceful and sharp. Just remember, little Eliara, the last girl who touched my roses didn't last the winter. You stand. Maybe I'll bloom through snow. She freezes, then laughs, genuinely, coldly. Thomas tries to speak, but she silences him with a glance. Let her speak. It's nice to hear confidence before it collapses. She exits. Thomas collapses into his chair. God help us. You sit beside him. Who was the last girl? He swallows. Her name was May. She lived here a year, then vanished. You wait. She looked like you, he says finally. But she was you, or part of you. The stew turns to stone in your stomach. You remember her now, don't you? He says softly. She died under the roses, and you died under the peach tree. And maybe both of you weren't meant to stay dead. You press your palms to your temples. The room spins, but not from fear, from memory. You do remember May, not as a face, but as a shadow, as laughter in your mouth that wasn't yours, as sorrow in your bones that never fully belonged to you. Elspeth buried her, or worse. You rise. You can't fight her, Thomas warns. Not yet. You meet her eyes. But I can grow. That night, a snow begins to drift against the shutters. You go to the roses again. And this time, you listen. They sing. You sleep that night in a room that smells of honey and hearth soot, beneath a quilt patched with lilies and moth-bitten moons. The mattress sighs when you lie back, as if it's missed you, somehow. Or maybe you've just missed softness. The candle burns low, the walls creak the way old buildings always do, like they remember too much. You close your eyes and dream of ash blossoms falling in reverse. When you wake, it's still early, dawnlight crawling in lazy ribbons across the beams. Someone is already downstairs in the kitchen. You hear the clatter of pans and the low hum of a man's song. Thomas. You rise slowly, limbs no longer aching quite as much. The air is cool, touched with cinnamon and something darker. Clove, maybe. When you step out onto the creaking floorboards, you pause just long enough to press your ear against the door beside yours. Silence. Elspeth isn't back. Not yet. Downstairs, Thomas looks up from a tray of dough. "Morning, Starling," he says with a flour-dusted grin. "I made those oat cakes you liked yesterday. Fig and almond this time." You give a little mock bow. "Your Royal Highness of breakfast." He laughs. "That's what they'll write on my tombstone." Here lies Thomas Hale. He overfed the dead. You smile, but it falters, because you were dead, weren't you? You shake off the thought and settle into the chair by the hearth. Do you always sing that early? He says, only when I'm nervous. Then, catching your look, not about you, about Elspeth. She's back today. A chill traces your spine. He hands you a plate. Eat. You'll need it. You chew slowly, the flavors grounding you. Fig and almond, honey glaze, crumbs melting on your tongue. This is real. This is now. Outside you hear a horse's hooves. Thomas freezes. She's early, he mutters, and wipes his hands on his apron. Go upstairs. I'll handle her. But instead you stand. I should meet her. He looks like he wants to argue, but then he nods, slowly. All right, but let me speak first. The door swings open and the morning seems to dim. Elspeth enters like a storm in velvet. Her eyes find you immediately and narrow. Well, she says, voice all silk and venom. Our little stray is still here. Thomas steps forward. He's my guest. She brushes past him, setting down her market bag. Lace, apples, cloves, and a tiny silver vial. Guests usually bring manners. I did. They just got buried for a bit. Her smile is as thin as a razor. Thomas clears his throat. This is, Elira, you offer. You don't know where the name comes from, but it feels right. Elspeth tilts her head. Elira, a southern name, uncommon. You shrug. So is yours. There's a pause, sharp as a blade. Then she turns, casually unpacking her wares. If she's to stay, she'll earn her keep. The floors need scrubbing, we're nearly out of berry jam, and the upstairs linens reek of rosewater and indecision. Thomas sighs, but you speak first. Fine, I'll help. Elspeth raises one sculpted brow, as if surprised, but she says nothing else. Later, you're bent over a bucket, scrubbing the flagstones while the bakery air warms around you. Is it always like this? You ask Thomas quietly. He hands you a cloth. Only when she's being merciful. You pause. Why does she hate you? She doesn't. She just loved my father too much. And he loved my mother first. You nod, wiping your arm across your brow. So now you're the ghost she can't bury? Thomas glances at you. You speak like you've been haunted. Maybe I have, you murmur. And maybe the ghost is you. That night, you return to your room to find something strange. A velvet pouch resting on your pillow. You open it. Inside is a small, carved stone. Black, shot through with silver veins. It glows faintly in the candlelight. You recognize it, though you have no idea how. A lumen shard. Long ago, or maybe far ahead, you remember a superstition that if you place a lumen shard under your tongue before sleep, you'll speak to the dead in your dreams. You stare at the stone. Your fingers close around it. And for just a moment, you think you hear someone whisper your name, Elira, from behind the walls. Maybe you were never meant to survive this time. But what if you did more than survive? What if you came back for revenge?
The next morning begins like all things precious do, slowly, with steam curling in the cold air and your bare feet brushing across a rug that wasn't there yesterday. You stretch in the dawn light, blinking as the fire gently wakes with you. Elias is already downstairs. You can hear the soft thud of wood against iron, the kettle clinking as he hums a little off-key tune. It's one you know, though you don't know how. Maybe it's always lived somewhere in your ribs. Your name is June now. And even if the old one stirs beneath your skin like a faded dream, this morning it fits. Downstairs, you find the house rearranged. Not magically, just practically. The curtains are open, the rugs shucking out, the hearth swept clean. There are 2 mugs set beside the bread box. You spot Cordelia's coat missing from the peg. She's gone. No note, no footprints, just a single yellow button left on the windowsill. She said she couldn't stay, Elias murmurs, handing you your tea. Said you two closed the loop, whatever that means. You shrug. Which stuff? A pause. Then, deadpan, maybe she is the button. He chokes on his tea. Or maybe you are. Maybe we all are, you say solemnly. You both break into laughter, the kind that comes from survival, the kind that says, we're still here. Outside, Bramblewick is bustling. Word has spread. They whisper about the masked thing that tried to pull the village into the dark, about a woman with no past and a man who would burn himself to keep her warm. You become local lore within days. Children throw black salt at each other in play. Couples tie strings around their wrists and vow to never forget each other, even if names are lost. The bakery reopens. You call it Second Croom. It's confusing, Elias admits as he paints the sign. It's romantic, you argue. Besides, first crumbs go stale. It's the second one that hits. Business is good. Old ladies come in just to flirt with Elias. He plays along shamelessly. You charge them extra for sugar. Justice. One day, the baker from the next town over arrives. He eyes your lavender scones like they're treason. I hear, you used to be someone else. You smile, ladle jam onto his plate, and reply, aren't we all? People visit now, not just for bread, but to hear your story, how you rewrote your fate, how love tethered you to the world, how you lost your name and gained the one whispered only in dream. Some say it's a lie. Others say it's proof. Elias just says, ask June. She remembers it better than I do. And you do. You remember the pain, the light, the wind that stole your breath, the choice. You remember the shadow's final words. You rewrote fate. But you also remember the smell of burnt sugar, the way Elias smiled through chipped teeth, how your heart stitched itself together in the sound of his laugh. They say there's a festival now in Bramblewick, one you started without meaning to, the naming night. On the longest evening of the year, villagers write a word they love on a strip of cloth and toss it into the fire. It could be anything. Trust, stars, plum, Eliza. Not to forget, but to release. To make room. It's become a superstition. If you're lost, give the fire your oldest word. You'll find your next one in the ashes. You and Elias host it every year. One year, a child asks if he can throw in the word home. You ask gently, why that one?
Because I don't know where mine is, he whispers. You smile and light the flame. Then, we'll help you find it. That night, Elias plays the lute. You dance barefoot on the grass, your apron dusted with flour. The stars blink like they remember you. And maybe they do. Later, as the coals glow, Elias asks, "Do you miss it? Your old name?" You take his hand, squeeze it. Not when you say June like it's a promise. He leans close, his voice warm. It is. You fall asleep in his arms, dreams soft and slippery, full of clouds shaped like buttons and spoons that stir on their own. When you wake, the first thing you smell is toast. The second is lavender. And the third is love. You never need more than that. The shadows, they don't return. But sometimes, when you close up the shop late, a breeze slips through the rafters and stirs the candle, and you swear you hear a voice. Soft. Amused. You remember how it felt to die alone under that peach tree. But you smile now, because you're no longer under it. You're inside a house, with fresh-baked bread, a crooked sign, and a man who never let go. This is your second life, and maybe, just maybe, the one you were always meant for.